Farm boy from Ohio gives us his time. Wait. What? What? It's good to know people.
Yes, it is.
Let's see here. Let's see if this goes past the. Preparing live stream the meeting. Setting up meeting on YouTube. Let's see if it gets past the 4. If it gets past the 4 YouTube, then it should go live. Maybe. No, doesn't look like it. Well, good morning, everybody. It is April 7th, I think. Yes, April 7th. It says it right there on the board. It's got to be true. Yeah, it says it on the calendar, too. Today is episode 412. It's a conversation with misfits, high-energy misfits, who meet together on a regular basis to have more of what we want, less of what we don't. My name is Sean Murphy. I'm a 3-time #1 Amazon bestseller. I've stood on stage in 30-plus countries. I've been translated into over 40 languages. It means I've failed in more languages and in more locations than most people have. And I got to live through it. I've been an international speaker and trainer for the last 20 years. I've been in the profession of network marketing for 22 years. I've been in sales for the last 40 years. Yes, actually, in essence, I was selling corn off a hay wagon when I was 5 years old and making money. So actually probably 49 years. I was dropped off in a coal mine by my dad when I was 14 to go sell my very first professional sales. It took me 18 hours to sell a $100 order, and my dad said I had to pay the other $900 for the piece of equipment that I sold because I didn't sell the whole thing. I only sold part of it. That's what I learned. Just getting what you want doesn't always serve you well. I grew up on a farm in Ohio, drove by many colleges, barely made it out of high school. And we come here each morning to have conversations to see if we can awaken each other. This call started back December 18th, 2018. I got frustrated. I said, get out. I'm going to get out of my own effing way. And the F could stand for fear, frustrated, fatigued, fascinated, fanatic. Get out of your own fanatical way. And so for the first year, we did that. And then this year, December of last year, I decided to change it to the Daily Awakening because people's prejudice run true no matter what you say. And when they see the effing, they believe they were so good that they didn't need to join the call or have a conversation on the call. Some people did and said, oh my God, this is an amazing call. So I figured I'd make it easier. And so what we've been doing for the past 412 episodes, some of you have been with me from the very beginning, and that's what I'm grateful for, is we have conversations on a daily basis to awaken ourselves. We have conversations that we hear other people who share with their heart, share with their soul, who share with a passion, and something overtakes them, and they tell stories they wouldn't normally tell. This is a safe place. This is a place where there's love, right? So if you're new on the call, if you're new to this environment, I'd love for you to drop a N in the chat because that allows us to send you some love. Well, why would you do that? You don't know me. Well, I do know you. If you're of the species Homo sapien, you're a being. You're a being first. You're a human being first. The titles, the tags that other people have put on you, they kind of fall away here. Why? Because what the story that's holding you back is keeping you from being that better human being you're desiring to, that richer human being you're desiring to, that richer, that kinder, nicer, gentler human being that falls back in love with you. So G, welcome here. I see an N there. Great to have you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The other thing we do each morning is I ask you to send out 3 messages of joy, of gratitude, of love, of friendship, of peace, of joy, of just smiles and giggles to people that you know. So pull out your phone. If you're on it, you can take your Zoom and change screen, and you can open another screen and send out some text messages, send out some instant messengers, some DMs and IG. Send out some messages of love, of joy, of gratitude, of peace, of offerings, of just, hey, listen, if it's that dearest friend of yours, your partner in crime, and the two of you cut up with each other all the time, send them a smiley face that's the pile of fudge and say, I was just thinking of you. Something that makes you laugh. Let's change the way we look at things for the things we look at to change. That's my desire each day is to help the world, help me get better. I do it for a very self-full reason. My goal is to be a better dad, better husband each and every day. And I do that no matter where I stand on stage in the world, because I can put smiles in the world right where I'm at. And a smile has a repercussion, has the ripples in the pond that once it's added to somebody's life, it's usually given away. And when it's given away for the people that receive it from me, I pray it shows back up in my family's life. And yesterday, some people who were walking up and down the street, right, because they're just getting some exercise in, we saw some smiles. So from whoever of you sent those, whether it be yesterday or yesteryear or a decade ago, thanks for letting them show up for my family's life. That's kind of my oddball mission. So I'm glad you all are here. We're going to, because I've got so many things happening now, we're going to try to keep these calls relatively tight. And I say that to say, we need to hear your story. You're important. Something I have, a message I have, it might need to be a trigger, but I'd love to hear who's having an aha, who's having some issues right now, who's had an awakening. Maybe since yesterday, something happened from a conversation you had yesterday that you're like, wait a minute, I can't believe this happened. I did a couple of things the day before, and all of a sudden this joy comes in. Because I was listening to, I think it was John, what was I listening to this morning? And I thought it interesting. See, I don't know the Bible. I know a lot of books, but this wasn't one of them. John 10, they talk about the blind man. And they asked the Pharisees, the leaders, they asked them, who sinned? Because being blind was a sin, right? Some of the ideas they had back then were a little off, weren't they? They asked who sinned, him or his parents? Because to have blindness is a sin. At least that's what I heard. And then the question is that they ask him, they're asking, which one's the sinner? And what I guess I knew it, but I didn't know it, that Jesus performed most of his tasks on the Sabbath. I say that because when we go to help somebody, think about this for just a second. When we go to help somebody and we give them some guidance, we talk to them about our opportunity, we talk to them about our products, we talk to them about our community, and we give them hope. Think about this for just a second. Now, I know it's going to be a long stretch to connect the two. Not saying we're Jesus, but do we perform our miracles with our prospects on the Sabbath? What are you talking about? Follow me on this. Follow me on this. Hang in there. Hang in there. This is farm boy mentality. Don't people ridicule us? Find fault with us? Don't people say you're not good enough? That the business you're in isn't good enough? The stories you tell, the things you do to people aren't good enough. It's one of those things. Now listen, I just heard this. I hope nobody thinks they got to go out and get a Jesus complex, because we ain't that good. I'm just saying, isn't it interesting how years ago a question was posed, did the parents sin or did the child sin born blind? And then when miracles happen, somebody gets in trouble for it because there's rules, right? It says here, the game exists only because of the rules. The game exists only because of the rules. So this game you're playing with yourself, that I'm good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm tall enough, I'm not tall enough, I know how to prospect, I don't know how to prospect. I can talk to people on a daily basis. I can't talk to people on a daily basis. I can talk to 50 people a day, but tomorrow I have no idea who I'm going to talk to or if I'm going to talk to one person. What's the game? What's the rules by which you play this game called your life? And when do you get in trouble? Follow me? Rhonda, is this making sense? Do you hear it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. So then the question becomes, what, when they complain about you, when they complain that you're in one of those things, they complain only certain people make money. When they complain, I'm not good enough, and they tell you they're not good enough, could it be possible that they might be afraid to perform the miracle of helping people? Right now, there are people, I sent a message to a dear friend who's a global trainer in this industry. We're good friends, and I sent him a message. I said, I just want to thank you and your bride for preparing thousands of people who could have been in ruins when this catastrophe hit, because they didn't know how to talk about their business. They didn't know how to walk in their business. They didn't know how to walk in their, how are they protected income wise? How do they have that side gig that's providing an extra $400 or $500 a month that would have absolutely terrorized their family had it not been there? I interviewed one woman on my call who was going to Hawaii to help her daughter and their spouse. And when she landed overnight, they lost their business. They had a t-shirt business, and it just shut down overnight. The consumer said, "Okay, we're done." Well, there's no place to ramp up. There's no place to go pivot. Right? That's a business term, pivot. And they were out of money. And because of her side gig, she was able to help them offset some jobs, offset some costs. And then she comes home, she lands and comes home, and her mortgage payment goes up $600. What? So I say all of that to say, listen, if you haven't been hit by some kind of personal challenge financially, I think everybody has right now. But what I normally tell people when I talk to executives and CEOs, I said, so when have you made your biggest mistake? And they tell me, I say, you know, another one's coming, don't you? And are you prepared for it? So what I'm saying is that it right now is a great time for all of us to take a new look at our business in a way that it's not about generating income. It's truly about saving people's lives, about giving them direction, giving them focus, allowing them to see things in a new way. When Les joins us on Saturdays, you're going to hear wisdom that you've heard before, but it's going to fall on your ears differently because the listener has changed, because the orator has changed. This global epidemic has changed Les. I have no doubt, because it's changed me. Not that I'm as good as Les, but it's changed everyone. And the essence with which he speaks on Saturday will move your soul. See, that's the responsibility. When he gives us all of that, and we all say hangry, and we all say these things, we all carry on these phrases, we all carry on these moments, these messages that we hear from leaders, right? These sayings that we all have. Dr. Wayne Dyer, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. Right? The Sadhguru, in this moment, you can choose joy or you can choose misery. The choice is yours. Epictetus, choose what's within inside your circle of influence and what's outside of your circle of influence. Once you decide what's inside your circle and you have control over, pick up desire and go to work. You'll never have another bad day. All of these messages are taking on a new gravity. All of these messages are taking on a new mission in our world. The question is how fast can you adjust to the new gravity that exists? And the gravity of connection, the gravity of human nature, the gravity of people being people, the gravity of people becoming exposed. That's the biggest fear. Besides the disease itself, the dis-ease, the body not in ease, everybody is affected by this dis-ease because our brains are operating at a whole nother level. Our personal reality, Joe Dispenza says, your personal reality makes up your personality. People's personalities are changing because of their environment. They're being home. Everybody wanted to be home last year. Oh man, I wish I could take a vacation. See, the vacation still means you're getting paid. Some people are not getting paid right now. The food service industry, the resort industry. I've got businesses in Latin America. There's places where 60, 70, 80% of the population are out of work and they're not getting paid. The wife, because in Latin America, a lot of times the resort folks who are out front are male. The housekeepers are female. Well, both of the family are out of a job now. It's not that one of them could still go to work and the wife can pick up the work. It's not like he got fired. It's the whole place got let go. So them being able to find, had an interview last night where I was having conversations with some of the team here in North America, and I was introducing some of the Latin America team to them, and she said, 4 months ago, technology was in Latin America. You don't know. I need to see you. You need to get on a bus and ride for an hour, 2 hours with all of the stops and come see me. You didn't get on technology. You didn't use technology. Zoom went from 10 million users in December to 200 million users in March. I think I got to applaud them. I'll send them a big plaque for even being able to adjust and pivot from 10 million to 200 million. That's not that's a crazy factor. That's not addition to your business. That's multiplication. So here's the question. Can your business handle a ramp up like that? Do you have systems in place to handle a ramp up like that? Do you have stories in place to handle a ramp up like that? Because it will happen. It will happen. If you rise above the conversations that are currently happening and you begin to ask people questions about legacy and about core competencies and about core beliefs versus, hey, did you get affected? Do you have enough time? Are you a little behind on the 8 ball? How many of you get the phone messages, the automatic phone messages? Would you like another $500 to $1,500 in your bank by the end of this week? Really? And you know what? There's people that are going to absolutely say they need to be a part of that because they're operating out of fear. Do you have the capacity to sit calmly with somebody in the middle of this storm and have a conversation? If you're not sure, it's time to look at your own compass. Have you picked your bearing? Have you picked your heading? Have you picked the direction with which you will go, with which out of this, your legacy will move forward at an exponential pace? So some of y'all's businesses are great, right? We always say this in 2008 when we saw it, and 28 when the depression happened. When any of these adjustments, listen, the wealth is just moving. That's all it's doing. The wealth is just moving. It's like the gravitational rotation that happens under the inside of the earth, the mantle that's rotating. The North Pole is slowly changing a degree every year. It's moving, the true North Pole. It's moving, it's rotating. It's very slowly transitioning, but the North Pole is rotating. It's moving. You didn't know that. Well, you didn't need to know that. The wealth is just moving. It's just shifting. Have you put yourself in front of it? Well, I don't own a toilet paper manufacturer. I don't own a paper company. I don't own a hand sanitizer company. You don't. Well, wouldn't you have been smart if you did? No, because I can't see a reason why anybody would do that. The unseen has shown up. The unpredicted has been here. So the question now is, how do you put yourself in front of that wealth? And what's the wealth you have access to? People's dreams, people's hopes, people's wishes, people's desires, and those that deliver on them will become wealthy. Those that give people hope will become wealthy. Those that deliver on the hope will become wealthy. See, one of my mentors taught me this. If you take money from people, you can become rich. You teach people how to make money, you will become wealthy. What does your presentation do? Does it take money from people? Or does it teach them that's the price of admission for them to take care of their family? Listen, we only got 26 letters in the alphabet. It's the syntax with which you describe them and arrange them, and the essence. This comes back to the essence of your conversation, right? How many times? Who remembers seeing Indiana Jones? And I don't know which one it is, where they're going into the mountain for the Holy Grail, and they come out, and Sean Connery, right? The ground splits apart, and the chalice rolls down into that crack, and the woman is reaching for it. The woman is reaching for it, and she can't stop reaching for it, and she falls. And Indiana Jones goes for it, and his dad reaches down and goes, Indiana. I can get it, Dad. I can get it. Indiana. It's not screaming. It's not hollering. It's not jumping up and down in Indiana. Right? When you understand public speaking, it's called the overnight radio DJ voice, or if you get into negotiation, they call it the DJ voice. Indiana. Can you have a conversation that allows people to hear you slow down? To truly ask them, how are you doing? See, when you change your pace, the pace of everything changes. So, that being said, questions, comments, thoughts. So if you raise your hand, feel free to have a conversation. Hey, Babette, how are you? Somebody got up at 4:30 in the morning. Good morning, RBP.
Good morning. I was just touching the lens right now. Sorry, I was trying to turn my camera on.
There she is. PRB, pink robe, PRL, pink robe lady, PRL. Yeah.
Does somebody have their hand raised? Because I was honestly just touching the screen.
Nope, they don't.
My phone doesn't have a
Oh, okay, go ahead, Luis. Luis in Puerto Rico. Bienvenidos de la Isla de Encanto.
Good morning, good morning. I'm a pool today. I made a DIY pool yesterday.
Look at this. Look at this ingenuity. That's Puerto Rican ingenuity at its best. A DIY pool.
100%.
That's too cool.
So, Sean.
Yes, sir.
What I want to ask you. So, I've been deciding and parting on just helping others understand their mind, going more through the psychology side.
Yep.
So, since I've established this is my path, this is what I'm going to do, right? I've started praying on it, and my prayers have been answered. A lot of people have just been trusting me with their issues, their problems, and their lives. Their whole lives, they're just throwing it, right in front of me.
Right.
And I can get a bit overwhelmed sometimes because of the conversation you had yesterday. How is a 20-year-old gonna tell a 56-year-old, oh no, this is what you gotta do. This is why you're wrong,
So the way you can do that is by asking 100-year-old questions. The only reason a 50-year-old has challenges is because they haven't asked 55-year-old questions. They're asking questions that are of their age. They're asking questions that are of their experience. They're asking questions that they only know about.
Exactly.
So I can't fix a 50-year-old. I can't fix a 20-year-old. When they throw their life in front of me, that's their excuse to say, I decide to lose control. Them throwing their life in front of you isn't going to serve them at all, because now they're going to ask you for the control. The challenge with most people who mentor, most people who pontificate that they have large communities that disappear overnight, is because they have to keep the community in control. I decide to give you back control, and what happens is once you decide to give back somebody control, they now take on a new aspect of their life, but they're always going to come up a place to where they feel they're out of control. So you have to now answer a question that they've not been able to ask themselves to show them how much more control they have. Once they reach that wall, can they climb over it? And the answer is yes, because all they need to know is what's on the other side of the wall. And whatever's on the other side of the wall due to quantum physics is anything they want. But now that do they have enough belief? The question is can they have enough belief to climb the wall to see what they want? And most people right now can't. They're not even facing the wall. They're not even going towards the wall. They see the wall and they want to run from it. So
Yes.
I would encourage you to learn how to ask questions that they've never asked themselves before, because it doesn't require you to have more years of experience than them, just the access to questions that are older than the both of you.
Yes. So how do you deal with a person's lack of progress, I would say, when you know they're just facing a wall and you know it? They're telling you I'm facing a wall and they don't know it. How do I take that? Like to me, it's very frustrating to know that someone can just live so freely with allowing themselves to.
Well, you have a unique perspective on life, and I appreciate your perspective. Why somebody can show up and say, I can't get through the wall, because we've asked them a how question. See, they ask, how do I get through the wall? How will never get you anywhere. How doesn't get you on the bus. How doesn't make you make a DIY Puerto Rican pool. It's the why. And the challenge is when you pose the why question to somebody, in our profession, in this profession of MLM, me loving more, we pose the why question to people all the time. Hey, tell me what your why is. If we sat for just a moment, sometimes we become parrots in our world and we repeat what somebody else repeated to us, and people go, oh, that's so cute. We're not here to be cute. We don't get paid to be cute, because when we ask somebody their why, if we think about it, when you were growing up and you were asked, tell me your why, who was asking you that? Your parents. And it's usually because you did something stupid. Why'd you do that? Now all of a sudden we get older and we get people in large rooms and we go, if your why doesn't make you cry, it's not doing it. We've just put everybody back to being a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 12-year-old. The last time they got in trouble when they got asked by their parents, why'd you do that?
Yeah.
So I say all of that. We've got to be able to ask the why question as to what happens if you don't do it. If you don't cross over the wall, what happens? If you don't get over the wall, you're in your old story. How does that work? Why would you want to stay there? So it's finding the way to move people into the direction they already need to know. What happens is when we start to counsel people, is they use us as the excuse for them not moving forward.
Yeah.
I got to go to counseling next week. I got to go back to counseling the week after. We've had breakthroughs on this call in 15 minutes where they go, I can't believe it. You know how much I've spent in psychologists, that you know how much money you saved me going to my site, my whatever you call them. I don't even know what you call them. So just be aware of, think about where the question is coming from. And sometimes you can get a great answer by asking them, that's a great question. Tell me why you asked that. That's a great statement. Tell me where that source comes from, and let them uncover their own direction.
Yes.
Great question.
Thanks, Sean.
Great question from great question from a 20-year-old. I love you, brother.
I love you too, Sean.
All right. Thanks, man. Enjoy the pool. Anybody else on the call in a pool? That's you. I love him.
Starting your morning right.
There you go. Thanks, brother. Ann, you have your hand up. Listen, if you didn't get to meet Ann yesterday, she is this amazing 23-year-old, absolutely brilliant soul from the UK or from London. And I just fell in love with her the second I heard her say hello. Good morning, Ann.
Morning. Hello, Sean. Hello, Rhonda. Hello, all of you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to ask, so because I've just started my journey into network marketing, my questions aren't as refined. I'm more just listening to them, and then
Sure.
Pardon?
Yeah, no, go sure. Absolutely.
I'm just listening to them, and then I think because I'm in my head and I'm asking, I know what I'm going to ask next. So I ask them like things like, oh, what do you do? Because I know they're going to ask me what I do. And then I can then kind of tell them what I do and kind of invite them into a more friendlier conversation. But how do I get from like just, because I don't just want to be like, hey, how are you? Oh, I love your Instagram, or I love your, vibe, to asking more of that deeper, or gaining that more of a deeper relationship with a person. If that makes any sense. I don't even think it makes sense to me.
Yes, it does. No, it does. It makes perfect sense. So the question is, if I can summarize it, it's how to go from a hello to a yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not just a yes because they.
No. A true actionable yes, and it
Yeah.
doesn't mean to be signed up. It just, my daddy said the only reason you have an appointment. Anybody know the rest of that? The only reason you have an appointment or you have a meeting is so you can do what? Set the next meeting.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason you have an appointment. So the yes I'm talking about is somebody agreeing to the next appointment.
Yeah.
So would you like to go through a little role play to see if we can go from hello to yes? Now, I know a little bit about you, but I don't know a lot. We spent a short time together yesterday. But if you would like to role play and be somebody who you might come up against because you know who your avatars are that you're trying to have conversations with, if you want to be them and I'll be me, and we'll see if we can't go from a hello to a yes. Are we doing this in texting and Instagram and DMs and Instagram?
Yeah.
So if I sent you, who does the reaching out? You're reaching out to them saying you thought they had a cool Instagram page?
Yeah.
Okay. So I might send something that says, I bet you get a lot of these, but Anne, I just want you to know I really looked at your profile, and the picture of you in front of the helicopter I think is way cool. What's that little thing? What's that drink you have in your hand, or what are you holding in your hand? Because your smile tells me it must be something fun.
Oh. Okay. See, I don't text like that, so I.
No, you don't. You're like, hey, cool Instagram. We should chat. It's like, yeah, whatever. Listen, you're this beautiful woman. How many times have guys come up and said, buy you a drink, get you a cup of coffee, have a tea, whatever, and you're like, psh, yeah, whatever. But oh, thank you, and there was no intention.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's happening in your DMs. Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. Bug off.
That's so true.
So there's words to be said and there's words to be read. The two shall never mix. The challenge is that we're trying to listen, I'm on a small talk diet. You got that yesterday. I don't ask you about the weather. I'm going to dive in, and we're either going to have a deep conversation from the get-go. We're going to start in the deep end of the pool, and then we're going to go to the bottom of the oceans. But I'm not starting in the shallow end of the pool. I don't have enough time. I'm on a small talk diet. I don't need to know about the weather or what your dog's name is right now. But if I can't make a connection with you, if you're not open to connection, I will move on. My life is too valuable to me. I've got to leave a legacy. I get to leave a legacy of 600 generations.
Wow.
So you're now part of that, FYI, which is why we're having this conversation right now.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you respond back to me, because if you read that message, you'd go like, wait a minute. Aren't you forced law of reciprocity? I made compliments about something that triggered great memories in you because you told me about them by putting it on your Instagram. This is a memory I want everybody to see, and where I got a little bit more, I'm a little bit odd, and I did something most people didn't do. So, hey, look at me. Woohoo!
Yeah. Definitely.
So now I'm saying, hey, I'm looking at you in a way nobody's ever looked at you, and you're like, I got to respond something. So what might you do? Might you not go back to one of my Instagram pages and look at what I do? Or you'll respond, oh, that's so sweet. Well, and you'll tell me about that.
Yeah.
And then I would say, so tell me about that. What is it you're holding in your hand?
Oh, you're actually asking me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sparkling wine.
Sparkling wine. But I see a logo on the glass. Tell me about the logo. Do you remember what the logo was?
Oh my God, no. This is like a year ago.
Okay. But you see how much detail I can see in a picture that most people just glance over?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing sparkling wine. So now I see the flute now that you say it. So it's champagne?
Yeah.
So why were you drinking champagne on this? Were you on a glacier? Now I see the snow.
Yes, I was in Iceland.
So you were in Iceland. What brought you to Iceland?
I took my parents to Iceland for their 25th wedding anniversary.
Oh my gosh! You did now? Was it you or you and your brothers and you and your siblings?
Well, I took my parents and my brother with me as well.
But did you sponsor this trip? Did you pay for the trip?
Yeah.
Okay, so mom and dad, 25 years married. What an amazing trip! What'd they think of the trip?
They loved it. They were really emotional. They couldn't believe that I planned and did everything for them.
So here's the neat thing. You did something at a momentous occasion that allowed them to have a memory they'll never forget. And when they get frustrated at you, sometimes they'll remember back, well, we can't get too mad. She took us on our 25th anniversary to Iceland. So you gave yourself, we call it in the living world, you gave yourself some margin of forgiveness. So in this conversation right now, who knows more about who?
You know more about me.
And you've enjoyed telling me, haven't you?
Yeah.
So now ask me what I do.
What do you do, Sean?
You know what I do? I've partnered with a company that allows people like you who have huge hearts to be able to take their family to Iceland whenever they want to go, not just their 25th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
Ask me how I do that.
How do you do that, Sean?
Very well. Why do you ask?
Oh, wow. Now I'm signing up with you now.
Do you see? And right now, and because of how you shared with us yesterday and how much I love you, and I know this sounds weird, but I'm in all chills right now. The fact that I get to speak to you.
Aw, that means so much to me.
Well, but this is, folks, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you that might be new to the call, this is the second time Ann and I have talked. Y'all getting this? Y'all, this whole thing about building rapport and having conversation. Yes, you have to build rapport if you're into wall buildings. If you're in wall buildings, building walls. If you're into the one-upsmanship. My poop smells better than your poop, and I'm going to prove it. If we just start to fall in love with people, people are telling us, here's how you get to love me. Ann puts this photo up. It's her photo of her right here on the screen. And she says, well, I need to really dive into. I don't know if that's a photo in her Instagram. I'm guessing it is. It's one I would be having out there. But see, we're driving by at 90 miles an hour going, get in! God, I wanted to get in that car. Here they come again. Here they come again. Get in. How long do you want your relationships to last? I have a phrase. I say, I'm in for lifetime conversations, not lunchtime. And I'm going to find a reason to fall in love with you or to keep my love safe. Period. That's me. I'm going to give you everything I got because you can't take it from me. I can only give it to you. You can think you're taking it. You can think you have one-ups on me, but you know what I'm saying on the other side? Oh, bless their hearts. They needed a little bit of me. Okay, let me go get a refill. And I'll go talk to another one of my friends and get my love filled back up. I'll have a conversation with somebody for an hour long last night who I haven't talked to in a little while and fall back in love with her. Didn't know I loved her that much. And we just had this amazing conversation. And she's a big reason. She's the only reason why that gentleman who's sitting behind me on the screen is going to join me on the 11th. And I'm absolutely in love with her. I was in love with her before, but how could you fall in love with somebody even more when they go, hey, would you like less on your call? What? Yes. Let me see if I can arrange that. For me? Well, why not? People are dying to give away their joy. It's just usually misplaced, and we get frustrated. We have never been more connected in this society. Right now, we went from 10 million users to 200 million users on Zoom. We have never been more connected. We have never been more connected than this moment, and we're still so alone. I don't know how many of you know Ann on this call, but I bet I know more about Ann right now than you do. I know more about that one picture. She has told me more about that one picture. I know more about her world than most of you do that know her. And some of you maybe asked that they thought that the picture was cool, but we don't put things up about ourselves that we don't want people to be interested in. Find that thing that zooms to you. Find that thing that pulls you out on their Instagram page. I put up Stoic quotes from Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius. There are people sharing those Facebook posts that I didn't even know followed me. And I reach out to them. Dude, hey, thanks for the share. Could I ask why? Because in this moment, we need some sensibility. And if we've got to go back to the foundation of foundations called Stoicism, I think we need to go there. So I'm glad you share these things. I'll share it every time you post it out. Awesome. I love the Stoics because it's truth that was 2,000 years old. That funny how it still seems to fit today. We have songs, right? We call these one-hit wonders in music. And they're one-hit wonders. They can't even last the year on the billboards. And these Stoics and the Bible and these messages, maybe, just maybe, if we go back to some simple foundations. People ask me, what book should I read? Right now, How to Win Friends, Influence People. I wouldn't spend time on Think and Grow Rich, although it's wildly important. Think and Grow Rich, Science of Getting Rich, and How to Win Friends, Influence People. Those are the three Bibles of human development, of understanding predictability, right? In How to Win Friends, Influence People, that says the sandwich. How many of you know the sandwich? If you've got to reprimand somebody, if you've got to give somebody some bad news, anybody know what the sandwich is? The sandwich is compliment, scold, compliment. We're just running around scolding. We never give anybody a compliment at any time. How to Win Friends, Influence People books. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Science of Getting Rich, Wallace D. Wattles. Now, I would encourage you, read those 10 times each. Because on the 10th time, you'll go, oh, now I get it. Because the words won't change. You will each time you read it. Read a sentence 10 times over. What was in that? Do you see how much we found out from just a simple picture? Science to Get Rich. No, Science of Getting Rich. I apologize, Kaija. Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. Now, Science of Getting Rich, I think Napoleon Hill, I think Think and Grow Rich, but definitely Science of Getting Rich is free on the internet. Heck, you can download both of those, I think, in YouTube. I don't know about, see, there's a Science of Getting, there's The Science of Getting Rich, yep. All of this stuff is free, but what are we looking at? If we're not going to study pictures like I just looked at Ann's picture, what are we going to study? What are you studying? And does that help?
Absolutely, Sean. Thank you. Yes,
You
it
bet.
does.
Okay. Awesome. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yes. I just love listening to that. I hear that. Thank you. It's the greatest sound ever. Yeah. If anybody's ever seen Young Frankenstein, I've got that brain, Abby Normal. So there we go. Jasmine, you got your hand up. Good morning, Jasmine. Let's go to Jasmine on line 4.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing so much better that I get to vibrate in your energy this morning. Good morning, Jasmine.
So I kind of have sort of a basic question, but basically yesterday I was on a call with someone that I knew from like college or whatever, about the opportunity, and they were so excited and everything. And then like the part about, you know, how you can do this as an MLM kind of thing, like immediately turned them off and everything. And like next thing I know, they're like saying scam, 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 or whatever. And you know, that happens sometimes, but like just how he reacted, like I got him on a call with me and everything, and to kind of go over, because he kind of came into the presentation somewhat kind of late.
Right.
But so I just went and explained to him like everything, and then he was just saying, you better watch out, and this, that, and the fifth. And like I just wasn't, I don't think, because I've never really had to deal with that yet.
Yep.
And I didn't know, I guess, like how to handle the situation. And like, you know, I just said, you know, I wouldn't be a part of something that's illegal and all that jazz. But it just like kind of just irritated me.
Sure it does.
And like I just like, I'm not sure how to go about, like I have like a follow-up thing today with him, but I just don't know how to go about talking to him, because he's kind of like a person that thinks he knows it all. So and he's been like that since like forever. So I don't know how to reach someone who thinks they know everything about something that they don't know. If that makes sense.
Absolutely, and I'll help you with that. So let's just see, Jasmine, if anybody else on the call has run into people like that. So if you've run into a know-it-all, type KIA, know it all. Type KIA in the chat. See if you've ever come across. Look at all, and you know what KIA means, right? Killed in action. So here's how you deal with the know-it-all. Let them know it all. Yeah, Brittany, you are the KIA. You're the head of the KIA squad. You used to be. You used to be. So here's what happens. When we come across somebody who's KIA, a know-it-all, here's the reality. They absolutely 100% know all that they know, but they also absolutely have no idea what they don't know. And the challenge with a know-it-all is the second you challenge their beliefs, man, the wolves come out, the claws come out. So you could ask them this question. Hey, listen, in your follow-up, so this would be your follow-up. We'll talk about how you deal with it in the beginning to avoid this situation you're in today, the follow-up with the know-it-all. You might ask this question that says, hey, do me a favor. Do me a favor. First of all, thank you. What am I thanking them for? Thanks for watching out for me. Because they wouldn't say this if they didn't care for you.
Right.
So just tell them, hey, thanks for watching out for me. Do me a favor. I know you heard what you heard, but up until the moment that you heard that transitioned you,
Okay.
what did you like most about our conversation? And when you ask that question, he's going to go right back. Now, it's a guy, right?
Yeah.
So a couple of things. One, guys, I could be making a general statement. I could be on, but I'm going to make a very generalized statement, a stereotypical statement about guys. Once we make a decision, it's very hard for us to say we were wrong, even if we weren't a know-it-all. So ask him, what did you like most about the call? Up until the moment to where you went into protection mode for me, which is code for you just absolutely lost your stuff. But up until the moment you went into protection mode for me, warning me, trying to keep me safe, what did you like most about our call?
So I asked him, I asked him that question when we were on the phone, and he was just trying to convince me to like sign up with some guy or whatever that he says is a real professional about, what we're in and everything. And I was just
so the industry wasn't good. I mean, it's not that the industry was bad. It's just who you were working with was bad.
Yeah. And then he was trying to convince me that stocks was better. And but he doesn't even understand. He didn't even know what Forex was initially, which was kind of just like it was just a really annoying conversation. And I just like
So, so then the reality comes from the conversation that says, because here's my question, is your time valuable?
yes,
And how much time do you want to try to spend convincing him?
not much.
And are you willing to let him convince you off of your path?
Of course not.
Okay. So then say, hey, listen, you know what? Real quick on this conversation, do you think we can is there any way to come to a new agreement that what we both do is good? And if not, you know, I love you. I gotta go. I gotta go pull hairballs out of my cat.
Okay.
Just love them. Love them for where they're at. You can't, because he gave you the opportunity to ask this question here this morning.
Right.
What a great training. And you didn't have to pay for that. You got all pissed off when you didn't have to pay a damn thing for it.
I appreciate you.
Right? Change the way we look at things, and the things we look at change.
I definitely was like in the moment, like so confused as to why he was coming at me that way, because I used to work with him and stuff like that. But like he is always in the mindset that he knows everything until like no one can convince him basically unless he looks it up himself. So I just didn't know how to definitely like navigate that whole situation. But he reached out to me about the whole opportunity. Like I wouldn't have reached out to him kind of thing because I already knew that about him. But he seemed like he was open-minded about the opportunity. So that's why I like told him about it and everything. And then it took a whole 180.
Exactly.
Jasmine.
So go ahead, Rhonda.
I was just gonna say, Jasmine, do you realize you were on his blitz list and you got prospected?
I mean, he's not, wait, well,
Yeah.
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 But here's the thing to consider, folks. If you look at the chats, this is critical, because who you are speaks so loud, I don't need to hear what you're saying. You're on my call. You're on the Daily Awakening. I'm going to awaken you to some prejudices that exist right now. If you read these chats, all we're doing in those chats is we're putting a label on somebody, which is a form of racism. Ooh, that's a smack in the face. And I'm going to do it because life is too short. Do you realize the prejudice you're carrying around when we say the things that are being said in the chat? Well, but they're not harmful. Those people are like that, or they say that, or if they're not coachable. We can't say anything we're not ourselves.
Right.
Can you walk in forgiveness? Aw, I love that they tried to protect me. Change the way you look at things. He's telling me I'm stupid. He's telling me this is no good. He's saying that this isn't a good thing. His is better. I love when people have passion for what they're passionate about. Why take yourself out of your joy?
Okay.
And the other thing is, Jasmine, whenever you look at how he contacted you and what he did, use that
Right.
as a learning opportunity. You realize first of all, he thought you were quality enough to contact. He probably thought there's some level of, she'll get this. She's intelligent. She's who I would want to work with. And now flip the script and use that as an opportunity to teach yourself. Remember, you can learn from anyone. Things that you can do that work, and things that you don't need to do that don't work real well. And
In the Bible, they made it real easy. There's black writing and there's red writing.
Right. But think about that. You know,
I definitely
take
feel this is a learning, definitely a learning, like.
It is, because you said a phrase and you didn't quite go deep enough, but I've had people say it about me on this call. Man, you came for our necks. I'm like, I did what? you came at our necks. I'm like, what does that even mean? You mean like I'm stepping on your throat? Listen, I promise you, if you were one of my students, then I come for your necks, because I got to choke this crazy ass stuff out of you. But here, I ain't coming for your necks. I may give you a little gut punch every now and then, but you got to wake up, because you're the one losing. When you come to me with problems, you're the one losing. And you don't need to lose. And when you turn a problem, right, everything, the law of opposites says that if I'm 10 feet away from you, you're 10 feet away from me. And if you've got a problem, the solution lies in the problem. Well, every time I say something, nobody listens to me. I don't know why they don't listen to me. Well, maybe you're the problem. Doctor, when I poke here, it hurts. When I poke here, it hurts. What's my disease? When I poke here, it hurts. You got a broken finger. Oh, I didn't know that. Great questions. Great questions. The key is, it's not that you're weak. It's that you're too kind to let other people run your dreams.
I'd like to offer a supportive metaphor, Sean. You started out talking about the importance of establishing rapport. At the same time, we need to be balanced with being ourselves. To borrow a metaphor from a friend of mine, Miles Davis didn't play what he thought the audience wanted to hear. He played what he himself needed to play. The audience came to hear his notes, not theirs. So
Your vibe creates your tribe.
It's being you before you do. So the trick is to maintain that balance between, yes, I'm listening to you, but also knowing I'm here because I have something to offer. And I'm not gonna shortchange that or denigrate that position either. I have something of value, and I'm not going to forget it.
Okay. This was really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Hey, Jasmine, real quick. One thing you learned, one thing you liked.
I honestly came in a little late. But
from your and my conversation, one thing you learned, one thing you liked. What's one thing you learned about our conversation?
to definitely have patience, and to understand where other people are coming from.
Cool. That's one thing you learned. What's one thing you liked?
That's what I learned. And then what I liked, honestly, all the feedback that you've given me, because it's really made me change my perspective on how to definitely go about dealing with someone who is a know-it-all kind of person, because this is definitely the first time I've ran into someone that was kind of like that, and I think it was just I think it was harder for me because I was friends with him for so long, but our whole relationship, to be honest, outside of all of this, was just he's always been like that. Even we're both audio engineers and stuff like that, and in the field of audio engineering, it's mostly guys, and usually the guys just don't take the girls seriously, and so I've dealt with that. I just put up with that when I was doing that, and I think it was just coming from him knowing the old version of me, and then saying that kind of stuff, and then not realizing what I know, and then I was just taking it kind of I wouldn't say I was offended. I was just getting irritated at the conversation, so I definitely I learned a whole lot from this whole conversation.
Good. Well, so again, here's the Paul Harvey rest of the story. is that what you just described is that you already walked into this conversation with prejudice. So where he lost his stuff, where he came at your neck, had nothing to do with your business. It had everything to do with you being in the engineering world with him and all of that other stuff. So it's been this compiling of going after you that now he came out with a conversation that he didn't feel comfortable saying you shouldn't be in the engineering world. But he told you definitely shouldn't be in the trading world that you're in. You should be where I'm at because I'm the one that's smarter than you. And so there's a whole nother level of prejudice. So if you can sit there, right? We talk about be independent of don't let when people say bad things about you, don't let that affect you. But when we go to Maslow and he says be independent of the good opinion of other people, that's a whole nother story. So when you watch somebody who reveals themselves through conversation and dialogue and the words they use, right? When somebody says I'm a Christian and they're cussing every other word, I got some questions about that. Man, I go to church every effing Sunday and this is the effing bomb God. And it's like, really? Okay. I just, that translation doesn't quite seem to fit in my world. Right? Or if I love women and they're going, check those skirts out. Now, I know that's like a 1940s reference. I'm sure there's other things you'd say. But who you are speaks so loud, I don't need to hear what you're saying. Decide what you're going to stand for, right? What's that phrase? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Yep.
Right? So you got dragged down a little bit off of your path, off of your horse, because you're the strong Black woman in the world that's a man's world who is not only a woman but dealing with prejudice and racism everywhere. As much as we want to look, I say we 54-year-old white guys want to look and go, it's really not that bad. It's really not that bad out there. Really just a day, I give you a day. No, right? So we love you, I love you. Know the world loves you, know the world needs you. And this was a learning curve for you to step up into that next state of glory for you, because there's a girl who's behind you. There's a girl that's beside you that needs your courage and needs your faith to go, we can get through this together.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much.
I love you. I appreciate you.
Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone.
You too, Jasmine. Thank you. Valentino. I just love saying that. Valentino. I love saying names like Valentino Alexandria. Go ahead, Valentino.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Oh my God, we got like GQ on here. It's like all of these studs show up. I mean, there's like, I don't know, did somebody say there's a requirement to be like a 10 to get on my call and make me look like a goofball? Good morning, Valentino.
Stop it. Good morning.
Good morning.
Almost made me forget what I was going to ask. But
I have a way of doing that.
yeah, so I've been reading How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's
Congratulations.
It's my second time rereading it now. And as I was doing it, I was just thinking, I was like, nah, I should definitely be hopping on Sean's call this morning. Just the way, like, I was like, I have to, this is literally like the Bible, just like how you said, like that Science of Getting Rich and Think and Grow Rich. I've decided that I need to kind of work on mastering some of the skills instead of just trying to, read a lots of books in different areas. And of course that's helpful, but I realized that especially in the network marketing profession, you want to be able to just master a few of the skills. So I realized that charisma, and it's not even about charisma, it's just about how to be a better person. Honestly, just think more about the other person. And
Valentino, that's a huge, so there's a couple of things that right away, tell me how tall you are.
5'6".
Okay, so you've got these broad shoulders. I see the neck muscles. I'm guessing you've been to a gym once or twice. You've got a physique that draws people in, that gives people strength, that gives people confidence. And then when you start to talk to them, they hear your voice, and all of a sudden they're putting all of their faith in you because they want you to do the work. They want you to lift the weights. and you being a good guy, because I'm hearing how you ask the questions and how you want to help people get better, you decide to lift the weights for them and you're the one getting frustrated. Am I on target at all?
Sometimes, kind of. Really, I just kind of want to share how I was reading that book, but I'd say more of my question would be, I'm working on raising my level of vibration. How can I, or what type of things should I be adding into my daily routine that would keep me or be elevating, you know?
So what have you read recently, be it Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, or well, How to Win Friends? What have you read a phrase that when you read it, you got the chills? It made you just go, oh, reread that. Reread that. And when you reread it and no longer get the vibration, pay attention to the next phrase, because you've upped your vibration and now that's become the new norm. Your body is now operating at that. Laugh more. What makes you laugh? What's something you watch that makes that baritone voice just come out, that bass voice just boom through the house? What makes you just go,
South Park. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
You will respect my authority, right?
Yeah, stuff like that.
So that you watch that stuff, because the way that vibration changes everything. It changes the chemical. See, people refer to me sometimes as a dream pharmacist. You go to the pharmacy, you get a prescription, and you take it when you get home. Very few people are taking their prescription at the pharmacy where they got the drugs. So I'm going to allow you to go home and take these drugs called Your Life and elevate your life. And this prescription that I give you, you can take at any moment. So I would encourage you to laugh more. And find a way to smile more. And when you show up in people's life, you see now funny how you said how that question came up, because what did I do to you before we started having a conversation? I had no idea what your question was, but I said, oh my God, look at these handsome studs they got on here. We got GQ, and you're like, yeah, oh, come on. And I made you giggle. I made you laugh. I took you out of the question. I didn't know I was going to take you out of the question. You were going to, well, geez, I don't even know what I'm going to ask now. So here's what I wanted to say. If you show up in that high state, you take people's apprehension, because what you're doing right now is publicly speaking, and people would rather die in a fiery car crash than publicly speak. You're in front of 84 people right now, FYI. You can handle it. You can do it. My point is that most people can't handle a one-on-one. When they're coming to say, my life isn't good enough. My life isn't good enough, and I'm putting my faith in you because you're going to show me something that I just absolutely hate, but my options have run out. So give me a reason to say no to your business. So it's like somebody who's on unemployment that's got to go file 5 work requests or whatever it is. They're like, ugh, just sign the paper so I can go home. So raise your vibration, watch South Park, laugh, think of funny things, call your friends, laugh about old memories, change your vibration, do that on a regular basis. You got 24 hours a day. My question to you is this: how much time do you spend in the highest vibration? Does that help?
Yeah, that helps. Oh, another thing too.
Sure.
I don't remember who you were talking to about it, but their question had to do the lady with the English accent. She
Anne. My little sister Anne.
Yeah, she had a question about I think it was prospecting as she was reaching out to people.
Mm-hmm.
I found that a way that I'm kind of reaching out to people as well, I should be analyzing their pictures more and deciding like what positive qualities to see what that person values themselves to know what's the best way to reach out to them, as you were saying.
Bingo. Mm-hmm. Right? Because listen, if I looked at some of y'all's Instagrams, I don't know how I could reach out to you, but I do know how I could reach out to you, because if I see if I see more of you than I should see more of you, my question is do I really need to see more of you? Because if you're in a leadership role, I don't see any leadership qualities on your page, but I see you've got 15,000 followers and I see you're in some kind of business. I will call you and ask you, hey, tell me your forward-facing message. My what? I was just curious what business you're in. It looks like you've got a lot of followers. I don't know if they're all in your business. Are they all in your business? No, very few of them are in my business. Oh, then why do you have followers if they're not in your business? So I would encourage you, find those things, find those helicopter photos on the snow with sparkling champagne. There's a story behind that. And we all learned about that story. Anne was kind enough to share it, but I think she was excited to share it. Who knew that that was a 25th anniversary gift to their parents? I promise you, there's very few people in Anne's world that know her, that know what that picture is or remember what that picture is, let alone people that don't know her that have an interest in that picture. Remember Mary Kay, right? If anybody's ever heard of the network marketing company Mary Kay Ash used to say, imagine people wearing a button that says, make me feel important. And you can do that. You've got the tone, you've got the quality, your diction is great, right? You've got all of the things that you've worked on to be able to present yourself in a professional manner. You have the right to inspire people. You have the right to be somebody's resource to help get them through this challenging time.
Yes, sir.
What'd you learn? What'd you like, Valentina? One thing you learned, one thing you like.
All right,
from our
one thing I learned definitely, people want to feel important. They're not, of course, what's important to you is what's important to you, but it's the same thing for everybody else. What's important to me is the same thing as will be important to you. What's important to you.
Exactly.
One thing I liked, just the conversation, the energy. It's definitely a good pick me up. Reading that book, it just made me realize, let me get back on these calls. Let me add this back into my routine. Let me keep fueling my own fire. Let me,
So here's a cool thing, Valentino. Guess what you get? You get to use this morning's call as a great story that shows you're going through it, what everybody's going through right now. Let me explain. You now get to say to somebody, hey, let me ask you, have you ever done something that was absolutely awesome in your day, awesome in your life, brought great results, and then stopped doing it? Listen, I'm going to ask the entire audience, the 87 folks here, do you think anybody's ever gone through that? Just type a yes if you think anybody's ever gone through, they did something that was great for them, and then they stopped doing it. Because if there's a lot of yeses, in which I see them coming in now, if there's a lot of yeses, you now instantly sink in time and space. Even though you might be on a different vibrational level with what you're reading and what you're understanding, everybody's gone through this moment that you just said this morning because it happened to you this morning. You know what the problem is that most people have, the challenge most people have, is they never get back on the horse. You got back on the horse this morning. So you can be the perfect leader, the perfect example of what happened to you today. Hey, I'm curious. You could type this out. You could put a post, a meme out on Instagram and go, anybody ever do something that was great for them and then they stopped doing it? And then they realized that they needed to get back doing it? That happened to me today. And it changed my life. Because it did, at least for today. And now people are going to, what'd you do? What'd Valentino do? He has that happen to him? How can he help me get back on track? And if somebody reaches out to you with a post like that, you can say, what's that thing you stopped doing that you know you need to do again? Won't they give you an answer? Maybe at least they'll have the idea, right? What's important to them is important to them. Man, I stopped going to the gym. I'm so excited. You know what I've done? I've partnered with a company that helps people get back to the gym. What? How do you do that? Very well. Why do you ask? Why'd you stop going to the gym? The finances. Let my company pay for it. How are they going to pay for it? All you got to do is talk to a couple of people. Would you be willing to let them pay for your gym membership for the rest of your life? Pay for your airplane license, pay for your helicopter license, pay for you to travel around the world. What would you like my company to pay you for? Y'all are trying to get them to join you to trade. Nobody wants to trade. Nobody wants to join my company for 2 pills twice a day. They want to join it so that they can feel healthier. They want to be a grandma who can be able to drive to see their grandkids because they were getting a little foggy brain. They want to be a young kid who helps his sister have some nutrition. They want to be. Nobody wants to do what we do. We don't even want to do what we do. Otherwise, we'd all be doing it. Y'all get that? We don't even want to do it, and we're trying to get people in to do something we don't want to do. Until we find our passion, and our passion, if it's truly helping people, then listen up and you get to help people every single day. I get to help people around the world. There's people waking up today who now no longer have dirt floors in their house. Y'all get this? Because I was scared, or I was afraid enough to say yes, and I worked through that fear to say yes, to go, I don't know what the heck's going to happen. There's somebody right now that I know personally who no longer has dirt floors in their house. And if we don't like what we do, how the goodness gracious HE double toothpicks are we going to get somebody else to join us because we want their money? Well, that's not what we want. Tell me it's not. So I applaud you for reading those 3 books. I applaud you for getting back on here, Valentino. You've trained everybody today that we can all listen to that little voice in our head and make our days better. So I appreciate you. I'm honored that you showed up today and that you decided to give me some of your energy. You're an amazing soul.
Always, Sean. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you, brother. This is what we get to do. Are you kidding me? This is what we get to do.
Oh, Sean.
Yes.
Last thing.
Yes.
Literally, as you were talking, I had tried what you were talking about with Anne, and I pointed out that there was a woman. She was smiling all over her page. She had a lot of pictures of herself, and I said, good morning. I said, I hope you're having a wonderful day. And I just noticed that you have a beautiful smile. What do you do for a living? And literally, I see that she had texted me like a few times back. And then one of the texts back was, now I'm going to ask you, what do you do for a living? I see you, blah, 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 this, that. And like, I only got the preview, but as you were talking, I'm just like, it just makes sense. It just makes sense.
It's called human predictability. So they've identified it and they've labeled certain things. One is the law of reciprocity. If I say good morning, I love you, somebody will say, well, good morning, I think you suck. That's probably not going to be the response. Right? How many of you have ever smiled at somebody and they forced back a smile? They went, but they smiled. As much as you pulled them out of that, you went, hey, good morning. And they went, hey, yeah, good morning. And boom. It's called the law of reciprocity. Now, when you understand psychology, it's called the privileged question. If you can ask the privileged question before the ask is always going to be in your favor. I'll give you an example. When I traveled so much and I was checking into hotels every night, I would show up at the front desk clerk. Now, if they didn't see the profile and see I was at the highest level in that hotel chain, I would show up at the front because I was entitled, because I paid my dues. I got my stripes. So they're supposed to give me the best room that's available because of my rank inside of that company, the recognition. But I would show up at the front desk and I'd say, hey, before we get started, and usually it's night shift. I was usually checking in late because of travel. 11, 12 o'clock. Has anybody thanked you today? They're like, no, they haven't. Thank you. Thank you for all you do for us weary travelers. And for those people that show up here thinking you owe them something, I apologize. But I just wanted to say thank you. Aw, tell me your name. Sean Murphy. Oh, wow. You're a diamond with us. Aw, thank you. Listen. Is it okay if I upgrade you? Because this is only for like people that usually pay. Can I give you the presidential suite? If you want, will that make you feel happy? Because it'll make me feel happy. I can only stand in one small section of the room at a time. So you're going to make me run around the room all night so I can use the whole room, aren't you? And they would laugh. Why? Only because I thanked them before we got started. It's called the privilege question. Has anybody told you how amazing you are? Now they answer that. Now what do they have to do to me? What's within their power to give back to me? The only thing they have power over, which room I get. And they think it's nothing, but it's amazing when you travel around the world and you get all these upgrades and people are like, how much did you pay for that? Nothing. I usually say they ran out of rooms. And this was the last one they had. But when you give people a chance to fall in love with what they do, man, it's amazing what they can do. This making sense, folks? I hope it's making sense. Yes, good. I see.
Yes,
it.
yes, it is.
Cool. Awesome. And I think I'm going to say it wrong. K-I-J-A. Say it for me. I know we.
Kaija. It's Kaija.
Kaija. Good morning, Kaija.
Good morning.
What a great name. Who are you named after? Is that short for something, or is that?
So my mother, she was being creative. She wanted to basically me and my brother just have the same initials. His middle name is Kyle, and she just wanted it to still have that Kai name. So she was like,
okay.
Kaija.
Awesome. Well, Kaija, good morning.
Yeah, I just actually recently looked up the meaning of it. It's called, it's like, I think a warrior of God or something like that. It's like, yeah, it's cool.
Hey, listen, if you haven't all paid attention, sometimes when people go do their translations, from what I've heard on here, we've either heard warrior of God, we've heard the kindness, we've heard grace, we've heard forgiveness, we've heard all of these names of high energy, high emotion names that show up on this call. I haven't met anybody that says, the death taker or anything like that. So I'm glad you all showed up here with love and joy. How can I be of service to you this morning, my love?
Okay, so my question is, because I'm just starting to build up my business and stuff like that.
Okay.
My question is, how do I follow up with people without seeming annoying? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I'll have a great conversation, like the first initial conversation, it might be great or whatever the case may be, but then again, they might not, hit me up or whatever the case may be after. So how do I go about following up without seeming like, okay, I'm trying to be pushy to get you into my business type of thing?
Have you ever had a first date?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Have you ever had a second date with somebody that was a first date?
Sometimes, maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Once.
Okay. So once. Well, that's a clue right there. I love you.
Yeah, true. It is. Because you prove everything on the first date for the most part. Like, you prove a lot of things.
So here's a question. What's the requirement for somebody to have a second date with you?
Second date, it would be more so like if the vibe was good, if we talked, we had a great conversation, if their goals were in place and stuff like that. So it just really depends on how like the conversation went, because usually I'll ask them like what's their like plans and stuff like that for the future and stuff. If they don't have no plans on the future, then we don't got no plans on the next day.
So then the question then is, why is it so hard to have a second date with people that you're having conversations with about the business? You haven't got your rules squared away. You're not asking the right questions on the first date.
Wow. Sean, let me get my notepad back out. Okay.
You don't have to. It might serve you to do that. But listen, how many times have I said, 412 times on these calls, I said, listen, the answer's inside of you. I can't tell you what to do. Listen, can a 54-year, listen, I love you. A 54-year-old white guy, tell me how old you are. I'm not allowed to ask women how old they are. But
26. I'm 26.
So, do you think a 54-year-old white guy has any clue what a 26-year-old beauty like you goes through on a daily basis through racism and prejudice and being just being a woman in this, quote, man's world? You think I have any clue?
Probably not.
None. Let me tell you. Let me confirm that. Zero. But here's what I know. You're strong, you're powerful, you're courageous. You asked a question because you want to do better, you want to give more, serve more, and you have this identity that I just want people to have more of what they want and less of what they don't. So all I did was ask you questions of what's the criteria for you to allow a second date to come to you, and you asked me a question, how do I follow up without being annoying? You're trying to go on a second date, nobody wants to go on with you. Ask better questions on the first date. Does that make sense, everybody? It's a great question. But we make these things too difficult for us, and we're living it every day. So tell me who your avatar is that you typically follow up with. Is it guys or gals or both?
It'll usually be both. Most of the time, I'll try to follow up. Like, I'll follow up with the guys more so, because when I talk to girls, for the most part, we'll already be on the same page. So they'll be like, "All right, girl, I'm gonna sign up. I get," you know what I'm saying? They'll give me a date, and then next thing you know, I'll talk to them. With the guys, it's more so like, I don't know.
Are the guys older or younger?
They'll usually be around my age. They'll
Okay.
usually be around my age. So
Okay, but you're 26.
yes,
But are they 27 or 25?
but yeah, so some could be a little less. So it'll be like about 25 up until like maybe like the 30.
So listen, when you're 25, scheduled to live to 75, 1 year from 25 to 26 is a huge difference. And in the world that you have to operate in, 1 year of difference changes everything in somebody's perspective. One day could change somebody's perspective. So the ability to sit with where they're at, allow them to sit with where they're at. When you're having the conversation, listen, so let me ask you here when I asked Valentino, and you heard me ask Ann, tell me one thing you learned, one thing you liked. I like this, and I like this. Awesome. So here, if I was prospecting them, here's my question. Are those both strong enough for us to agree to have a second meeting?
Got it.
Yes, they are. Good. Would you be happy if we had a second meeting? See, I ask these questions. I don't assume, because I know where their mind is going. And if you're having a conversation with me, there is a chance your mind might get a little bit blown, because I say things in a way very few people say them. I say them absolutely in no way anybody will say them, because I can only say them my way.
You're a genius, Sean. You're a genius.
Well, I've just failed. Like I said, I've stood in 30 countries and been translated into 40 languages. I failed in more places and in more languages than most of you. This is just from experience. I know you will do what you want to do. You'll never do what I want you to do.
Hey, Sean.
Yes, my dear, with your sparkly glasses.
So, yeah, you like those? Aren't they so cute? So flipping the script on the first date conversation, she talked about how when she goes on a first date, if the guy that she's on a first date with doesn't say the right things, or doesn't have the goals set in place, or doesn't line up with her thoughts, she didn't give him a second date.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using that as an analogy for your prospecting, then you're in the other seat on that first date. You're not the one being dated. You're the one that's asked someone out. So they need to hear you say your goals and your right things in the right way to be able to see if they line up with you. It's the same thing she said, but it's just the flip. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It makes sense to me. But
Definitely, it definitely makes sense.
Is it?
You know, get what I'm saying? I just got to learn how to put myself in that perspective, and that's what I'm growing to like learn how to do. So like that was great. Thanks. I appreciate it.
So Kaija, let me ask you this. Kaija, let me ask you this. How long should it take to find the right one? How long do you think, if you were looking for the right one, how fast do you think it might take? How quick do you think you could find the right one?
I feel like it could really be instantaneous for the most part.
Okay. How many times have you found the right one and they didn't know they were the right one?
How many times have I found the right one? It's usually a mutual thing, Sean.
Okay, so is it okay if we change the way you look at things?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give you my example. I'm an oddball. I'm a unicorn. So I have a group of 30,000 people in Latin America. Do you know how long my relationship was before they said yes?
Oh, wow. Especially
7 years. 7 years. We never did any business. So 7 years I worked with somebody. You want to know how long it took to have a conversation with Pink Robe Lady up there?
How long?
6 months.
He's always messing with me, y'all. He's always messing with me.
So here's what I'm saying. Maybe, just quite possibly, you might be too quick to judge and you're missing out on diamonds in your life.
Got it.
Because I can promise you, when I had my first conversation with the third conversation with Rhonda, if I used your criteria, y'all wouldn't be blessed by her presence today.
Okay.
Not a chance. First one was, it was starstruck. She didn't know who I was. We had a conversation at a dinner table. There was 3 other women there. She was in a safe environment because those other 3 women could have cut me just as quick as she could, and she knew she had a backup. So she was in a safe environment. Wowed them to death because I didn't ask a single question. I just explained some things, and they're like, oh my gosh, we've never heard this before. Second conversation is at an airport. We're all flying to the same event, still safe environment. Third conversation, I said, here, call somebody and invite them to the event tonight. Done. Absolutely. She had a choice at that moment to either in or out. But I knew something was inside of this amazing soul. I could feel it. I had felt it from the very first second. I understood it. And I challenged it to see, am I a worthy adversary to bring value to her? And that third conversation was a turning point.
Copy. So just plant the seed and just water it. Basically.
Find out, be true to what you want. Be clear on what you want, and the vibration will pick up. Just like Valentino showed back up on this call this morning, and I happen to mention Napoleon Hill, Science of Getting Rich, Wallace D. Wattles, and How to Win Friends, Influence People, Carnegie. And he's like, man, I've been reading those books. Funny how I got this intention to get back on the call. Don't be too quick to cut people off. Build your list. Find out if they, listen, have you ever been to a club where you see people get past the red velvet rope, right? Everybody's in the line, but other people walk up and they cross out and they get into the club quicker?
Yeah.
Start to get people, put people in that line. Find a reason for people to want to spend time with you.
Got it.
Because you can definitely find 1,001 reasons to have people not want to spend time with you. Does that help?
Yes. No, definitely.
Yeah, and just don't lose your way. Don't let somebody talk you off your path, which I think would be very hard to do. But just be aware of, you know what? I like this about them. I wonder if there's more to that.
Okay.
One thing you learned, one thing you liked.
One thing I learned was to make sure that I just put myself in their seat. Like, you know, like when I'm dating them, basically, I basically put them in their seat, in my seat, not in like reverse. So I learned that. And then one thing I just liked having this conversation with you. Honestly, this is my first time jumping on a call.
Awesome.
So
welcome.
So yes, it just came like Nino has sent it out like with his morning successes. So I was just like, oh my God, I'm just gonna jump on. And then honestly, your vibrations is beautiful. So I love you. And I will love you from now on.
Yay. So we got a Saturday call, right, coming up with this guy behind me, Les Brown. So yeah,
I'll be there.
Yeah, y'all pay attention for that. So Chairman Stan on the line. I think it's Chairman Stan. It is Chairman Stan. Good morning, Chairman Stan.
Good morning, Sean Murphy. How you doing?
Outstanding, brother.
I really like the call today. I like all of them. I'm reading right now. I'm almost done with Think and Grow Rich, but as soon as you brought up, what was it called?
Science of Getting Rich?
How to win friends
and influence people. Yep.
Yeah, I just ordered that on Amazon right now, so it's gonna come in. Hopefully, I can read that by the time Think and Grow Rich is done. Right now, my question kind of really is, you kind of answered a little bit with Valentino, but I have a decent amount of people in my organization right now, and most of them are coming for me for 3-way calls.
Yep.
Now, when they're prospecting, they're looking for people, and when they get prospects to hop on a 3-way call with me, that prospect is looking for information on my company, on what I do. Now, I understand when I'm prospecting, I need to put them in the driver's seat, as them majority of the questions, so they talk more. But I feel like majority of my 3-way calls has been just me going over my company and giving them all the information, and then a little bit, of course, about myself. But I feel like I don't know if I'm like doing it the right way, because for a 3-way, I should be giving them the information, but at the same time, I have to put them in the driver's seat. And majority of my business right now, I almost have almost 60 people, and I would say majority of them, I got them from giving them the information on my company and what it is I do, and just helping them see success. But I know if I want a long career with this, basically, and a strong foundation, I need to build more relationships, especially with prospects. So I want to really start putting prospects in the driver's seat and show people in my organization how to do that, so that we're not just going straight giving them all information right away, because I have done three-way calls where I'm giving them information for 15, 20 minutes, and they just don't know what to like say, or they just lost, I guess. Or I of course asked them if they have any questions or anything. I asked them a few questions, but I just feel like I need to go about it a different way.
Awesome. So different is good as long as it produced better results. So here's my question for you. How much of the three-way call is spent in edification of the prospect and of the person who brought you? So there's the A, there's the distributor, there's you, the B, the bridge, and there's C, the prospect. How much time is spent in edification of A and C?
Not enough.
That's your change.
So edify the person.
Does your team know how to edify you? If I got on a call with 3 of your leaders right now, would they edify you the same way?
Yeah,
No.
I think
No, they
not
wouldn't.
the same way.
No, they wouldn't. So that's why you have a problem, because there's not the same story. If I read Think and Grow Rich and the words changed every time, wouldn't I be pissed off?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your story? How do they edify you?
Are you like asking me what's my story and how they edify me?
Well, I mean, when they get on the call, what do they say about you?
How I've basically introduced them to this opportunity, how I have seen a lot of success, not a lot of success, but I've seen success from this in both aspects when it comes to trading, making money off trading, and residually, and how I've taught them so much, and how I just been a great mentor towards them.
Great. So you know what the prospect thinks?
What?
I got to get like you before I get anything. How do you edify the person who brought you onto the call? How much time what do you say about, think of somebody on your call and edify me about somebody on your call.
I would say this guy Javier, in my organization, he's a great leader, a great student. Every single thing I introduce to him, he just absorbs the information and just duplicates what I show him, what I do, and he's seen success off duplication and just being a great student like I have.
So none of you guys have ever lived a life outside of your business?
No, I have, of course.
Well, of course you have, but I haven't heard either of you have, either of you are human. All I've heard is business. You want to hear my introduction of Rhonda?
Yes, I would love to.
Listen, Stan, I got somebody on the phone. I hope you guys connect. I'm not sure if you do, but let me tell you a little bit about Rhonda. She's this amazing mom. She's on a second marriage because it took her the first one to realize she had to find her true prince, and she found him on the second one. And that true prince she found is somebody who has fallen in love with her. She's this amazing mom of a couple of incredible stepkids. She has this beautiful child called Amelia, and she has this incredible mom who she shared some of her business with, and she got her mom back. I mean, literally, her family says, "What'd you do to mom? Mom is back." So when you get to have a conversation with Rhonda, I want you to hear that she didn't think the products would work. She didn't know about the business. She didn't want to do the business because it was this arm's reach away from purse snatching. So I want you to ask her some questions of how does a strong woman make a change to fall back in love with the ability to help her family and take care of her child. So Stan, let me introduce you to Rhonda.
See, now I want to hear what I'm going to say. That was good. I want to listen to me.
What'd you say, Brittany?
I said it was all crickets after that. They're like, damn, it was Rhonda.
Because drops mic. Like, okay, Sean.
Did I say one thing about what her rank was?
No, you didn't.
Did I say about how much money she makes?
No.
If I was going to introduce, so I have some dear friends. I have a lot of my friends in this business who make over $100,000 a month. Let me introduce you to somebody who makes over $200K a month. Listen, I've got this friend on the call. She's absolutely amazing. 23 years in the business, actually 30 years in the business. Spent a year in prison and was absolutely unemployable. But some of her stories go from selling cookies to don't open the box. But she's this incredible mom, absolutely has this desire for anybody who she loves to take care of them at an unbelievable level. And she's actually become my sister, even though we've known each other for about 18 years, but she's become my little sister because I'm a couple years older than her, or maybe she's older than me. I forget. But what she has this passion for is to make sure you get what you want and not the other way around. So if I could introduce you to this person who's makes, I don't know, right now, probably because money might impress you, over a couple $100,000 a month, but it's really not about that. She's this mom who takes care of her family and now takes care of hundreds of thousands of people around the world. I'd encourage you to ask her some questions maybe you haven't asked anybody before. Y'all got to get better at edification. I say this with love, I say this with honor, and I say this with respect. Your edification sucks. Because here's what it sucks. It sucks the life out of the prospect to think they got to absorb information, learn all about trading, and learn all about this. Introduce the human being. Right now, the vibrational energy in the world is not about money because everybody's thinking about it. And if you're going to talk about it, all you're doing is perpetuating the fear of money. That they ain't got it, they're not smart enough, they don't know what to do. And we're saying, you should get involved with me. You should be this, right? Injected value. You should be this. You should be getting healthy. You should be trading. You should be traveling. You should be on vacation with me. You know what you should be? You should be under a rock, is what the prospect is saying. Start introducing the human. You got BC and AC. Before your company and after your company. Before Corona and after Corona. I haven't heard one person's story what happened before your business. Stan, tell me how old you are.
I'm 19 years young.
19. So how long have you been in the business?
Almost 5 months, 6 months.
Okay. So, hey, listen, Rhonda, I get to introduce you to Stan. Listen, here's the thing. I need you to put away how absolutely wise this kid is, because he's 19. So when you hear 19, it's like, what are they going to teach me? Here's what he's going to teach you. Before he got started 5 months ago, he didn't have a way to take care of his dreams, to take care of his family, to provide things to his parents or cousins or brothers or sisters, be able to give them something. He's been able to build a team of about 60 folks. But here's what's important with that. He was able to stand strong enough and to be able to inspire enough other people to live their dreams. And what Stan has been able to do has been pretty unique. So what I would encourage you to do is to listen to where his passion is, to listen to how he's been able to tell the story, because nobody listens to a 19-year-old unless they've got a vision big enough and strong enough to help people live their dreams. So I would encourage you, I'm going to introduce you to other people besides Stan, but I wanted you to hear what Stan is saying, because right now there's 19-year-olds that you know, Rhonda, in your world that need some direction. And if you find them, I have no doubt Stan would be able to answer the phone and pick up the phone and be able to have a conversation with them. 19-year-old leader to 19-year-old entrepreneur. So Rhonda, Stan.
See, now I feel like I'm fixing to listen to a child prodigy. Now I'm like all leaned in, ready to hear what can Stan give me. That's
Yeah, that was amazing.
Sean.
So I'm a storyteller. I'm not a fact teller. Facts tell, stories sell. When you understand the power of the lives you've lived. If I were to introduce Brittany to somebody, listen, Rhonda, here's what's about to happen. You're about to have an experience unlike any you've ever had before. You're going to be able to meet this young woman who's been able to travel, has an incredible childhood story that has driven her to levels of success we could only dream of. She's had to deal with issues and trials and tribulations that at one day, if you're lucky enough, you'll get to hear those stories. But right now, she has a very direct attitude because she doesn't want to give away her time to people who aren't serious. So before we get started, Rhonda, will you listen to Brittany with the intention and the intent that she has to help you have more? Will you be able to listen to it that way? And Rhonda will answer, yes. Cool. So let Brittany do what she does well. She'll kind of craft and give you some new ways to look at things. And when she asks you the tough question, no, it's from love. And survey says.
No, that was powerful. I'm over here just listening, trying to absorb everything. I'm definitely gonna try to get my team on this call as well. Like, try to send them the recording, and I'll watch this myself again because this is some great stuff right here.
But see, y'all work too hard. Y'all are trying to push ropes up a hill. I did this. How do I know? How do I know what you're doing? How do I know that when I was going to hear you tell me how you edify? Well, we really don't do a lot. It's not like oh my gosh, I'm surprised. I knew that was going to happen because it happened to me. I used to want to be the one in charge. So if I'm the bridge, if I'm the you, Stan, you know how I start my three-way after they do that introduction? Rhonda says, and this is Sean. Hey, Stan, I appreciate you. Tell me how I can be of best service to you.
And what if they ask for information on what I do?
Excellent. Stan, I'll be happy to give you and point you in the direction to all of the information. I really don't know all of that because I'm in the business of building people, not building a business. And if you want to know how to do that, what I really want to know is all of the information is somewhere on the internet somewhere. All I need to know is that if you're going to go spend time to look at that, how do you know if it's going to help you get you to your dreams if you've never seen it before? Could we have a conversation to see if you're ready to make some changes to allow you to have more of what you want and less of what you don't? Because if they're looking for information, great. Why are we having this call? Because all of the information you want is on an internet somewhere. Listen, my middle name ain't Google. And if your company has got a website, why are they asking you for information? It's all on the website. I'm not here. If I got to tell you what it says on the website, I need to go to customer service. Maybe that's why your check is where it's at, because you're playing customer service. Ooh, snap. Did he just say that? Yeah, I did. I get paid to do two things: find customers and build leaders. That's it. That's the only reason my company pays me. Find customers, build leaders. What are you doing? If you're exchanging information, you need to be the directory assistants. Brittany, yes, you can say something. Go ahead.
Hey, hi everybody.
What was that? I love that one.
Okay, so I was just talking to some people yesterday that are within the business, and I was talking to them about edification. And this is crazy because I'm so good at edifying people now. I didn't even realize it. But what happened, and now that I'm able to edify people, because they're like, dang, like she was like, dang, you sure know how to talk. Because I edified her to her, and she was like, whoa. And I was like, okay, I was like, before, when I learned how to edify, when I first got into the network marketing business, I was just saying shit, like that sounded good. I was like, but now I said, what you do is when you sit and you really look and you think about these people and what they do and what they embody, even the slightest, smallest of things, you have so much material to edify someone. Like, Sean, I talk about you all the time. I talk about Nano all the time. Someone literally asked me, they was like, wow, you sound so in love. And I was just like, I absolutely am. Because I have been able to, or I stopped just saying fluff and shit. And I started to actually converse with these people. And I'm able to see what they have to offer outside of the business, which is what attracts me to people. So when you're edifying someone, you need to speak on the things that are unseen. You need to talk about the way that they will make them feel, the way that they've made you feel. And because they can do that for you, I know Sean gets on this call and he speaks to however many people he needs to. Nano gets on his calls and there's 500, 600, 700, 100 people on there every single morning, and he comes with the same intensity, the same energy. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what your background is, and they still pour into you in the same exact way. So you take that and you tell them. I'll say stuff like, you know, I would love to connect you with someone who wakes up every morning and shows up for me to help me grow, even if it's at least 1% every single day. And they will do that for anybody. It doesn't matter, right? And they're like, oh, okay. And I know that if they can do that for me, they will definitely show up for you. And if we could just grow 1% every single day, they will be with me 100 days until I'm 100%. You know what I'm saying? And so they're just like, wow, okay, cool. I really want to know who that is. But you really have to just stop and think about what these people actually do for you and how they make you feel, and translate that to other people. But if you're not paying attention, of course you're not going to be able to edify. Of course not.
Well,
Yeah, that was fire.
so when I do a three-way, so this is going to be a little mind-blowing for you, but I hope you grasp it. When you do a three-way, my guess, tell me if I'm wrong, your guess is to see if you can't get the prospect to begin to join you in business. I think that's what most people's intention of a three-way is.
Yeah.
Mine used to be that. You know what my intention of the three-way is now? Is to make sure I re-sponsor my team member. I care less about what the prospect does, because I'm into retention. And if I get somebody who does a three-way with me, I'm going to make sure they know that I think the world of them, and that I'm going to edify them to the prospect so strong, so incredible, that they oh, this is the greatest place I've ever been. And whether the prospect says yes or no depends whether their ebb and flow in the business. But if I can inspire them enough and let them know I appreciate them enough, and let them know this is the way I think about them strong enough, it doesn't matter what the prospect says, because we're going to get prospects who say no. And if I can't edify my team member strong enough to face that no that they're about to experience, I'm not doing my job as their team member, as their upline, as their mentor. But now the question is you want to make it real easy for you to enjoy the business? You want to make it real easy for prospects to say yes? That person who brought you on better know some important things about that prospect, because it'll be the first time they've ever been edified, or one of the few times they've ever been edified. And if you can become brilliant at edifying, so if I was bringing you to Rhonda, and Rhonda's the bridge, and I'm the prospect, I'm the business partner, but I wanted Rhonda to do a three-way. Rhonda, listen, I got this kid. I say kid, I'm 54, he's 19. He's this amazing soul who I've heard some of his determination and his inspiration that he's serious about taking his life to the next level. So he's 19 years old. Don't let that age make you think he hasn't been through hell and back. The wisdom that he carries, the conversations that we've had, the books that he's read, his passion and desire to pick up learning and to become an experienced entrepreneur already at 19 absolutely shocks the heck out of me. We'd be blessed to have him as part of our team. So whether he does it or not, I don't know, but I just wanted to introduce you to him and let him ask you some questions as somebody that's been through the field a couple of been around the block once or twice. But I'm just excited that you get to meet him. Have you ever heard any of your prospects introduced that way?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so now it puts you in even a more difficult spot to try to convince them to take a step forward. Because if this guy who's introducing me to you doesn't even like me, why are you going to like me? Remember, predictability, human predictability. But what did you hear while I was introducing you to Rhonda? Because I think what all of that I said was true based upon what I know about you. What did you feel as you were hearing me introduce you to Rhonda?
You sounded very genuine, like you.
Yeah, but what did you feel? What did you feel?
You're breaking up a little. Oh.
What did you
feel? Like mad warm inside. I felt warm, like my body was vibrating a little. I just felt like a frequency in my body because it just felt good hearing somebody else speak about me like that.
Yep. Law of reciprocity. How could you say no to me now? Not trying to trick you into it, but a lot of times we're asking people to do things they didn't know they could do with something they didn't know about. At least they got to have confidence in somebody that, okay, if these people talk about me now and they don't even know me, might they be there to help me through this process? So there you go. Does that help?
Yeah, it helped a lot.
One thing you learned, one thing you learned, one thing you liked.
One thing I learned is I definitely have to work on edifying my my team, organization, and help teach them how to edify me, how to edify prospects. One thing I liked is when you said facts tell, stories sell. That was a really big thing. And I also like just how genuine and honest your responses are with me, with anybody. Like, the impact you're making is just so crazy.
Listen, we've all got a huge responsibility. I believe this is the industry that'll save the planet. This is truly the industry that'll save the planet. Because imagine if we were all consuming from each other, if we were consuming from people in Iran and Iraq and Kuwait and Slovenia and Serbia and Croatia and Hong Kong and Tokyo. We had team members in all of those countries. Right now, we'd all be in a different place because everything we're going to hoard, we'd be hoarding and we'd be increasing people's paychecks from our friends. Imagine if you were buying somebody hand sanitizer from a friend of yours as opposed from Procter & Gamble. Wouldn't you be putting money in their pocket? And they're the ones struggling. They'd be like a Watkins, right? They sell vanilla and they sell spices and they sell this, but they happen to have the best hand sanitizer. And all of a sudden you told everybody, I don't know if Watkins even has a hand sanitizer, but it's a 100-plus-year-old company. And you said, you need to talk to this 70-year-old who's been with them since they started. You need to buy everything from Sam. You need to go get your hand sanitizer from Sam. And you all of a sudden you took Sam's $200 or $300 a month check to $2,000. Wouldn't that make you feel better than Procter & Gamble? This is why I believe this business model is going to save the world. And women are the majority of this business model. So guys, be ready to be in service. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you, Sean. Love you.
Love you, brother. Appreciate you. Brandon, you got your hand up, brother.
Yes, Sean. It's a certain pleasure to meet you. This is the first time me being on this call.
Woohoo! Give some Brandon some love. Way to go, dude. Way to have the courage to speak up and step up. Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you very much, Sean. And I really appreciate the rest of the family that's also on the call. Like the way that we're talking and, conversing with each other is amazing, and the energy. But I just wanted to ask a question. So I kind of have problems getting prospects. Like, I will feel discouraged at times, right? And that kind of lowers my vibration.
Sure.
I feel like it's because of the way that I'm introducing my business. So I would greet myself like, hello, I'm Brandon. I'm part of Trade House Investment Group. We trade and invest in currency pairs within the Forex market. Would you be interested? And half the time, people will leave me on scene, but I don't know why.
Well,
yeah.
So Brandon, watch this. Hey, listen, my name's Sean Murphy. I work with a company called Florida Ceiling Products. I actually one of the owners of it, and we deal with rotating equipment. And I have typically I have something that is so cutting edge, you're going to want to know about it. It's called a split mechanical seal. The version that we've come out is called a 442. And what it does is it allows me to assemble this all upon your pump without ever having to disassemble a pump, which will save you thousands of hours and thousands of hours in downtime. So would you like to get one? That's what you just said to me. The same thing. I don't know what the hell you said. So I'm going to say, well, evidently we're supposed to have a conversation with neither of us know what the hell we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, listen, tell me, Brandon. Brandon, could I help you with your forward-facing story?
Yes. So
okay.
What
Well,
should
before we get started, I need to ask you 3 questions. Can I ask you 3 simple questions? Well, they seem simple to me, but can I ask you 3 questions?
Mm-hmm.
First question is do I have your permission to help?
Yes.
Now, you don't have to take it, but I just want to know if you hear something I do, if it's okay if you walk away with it. So I get a yes from that. Here's the second question. It's going to be a little tougher. Do I have your permission to make you feel just a little bit uncomfortable? Would that be okay? Because if you answer that one right, you're going to love question number 3. Could I make you feel a little uncomfortable?
Yes, you can.
Okay, good. Here, I'm glad you answered it that way. Here's question number 3. Can I take you out of that uncomfortable feeling?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Brandon, when you have a conversation with somebody, what's your end goal? What do you want them to do? What's the next step you want somebody to, after you do your opening remarks, what would you want them to say?
Well, I would want them to be interested, but in order to catch interest, you have to really think about it, and you can't really rush into the process of getting a prospect. You have to get to know them. So I kind of realize now that it's not about sending a pitch. I really have to think and be like, okay, I want them to be interested. How would I get them to be interested?
Did you hear my conversation with Ann? Were you on the call then?
I've heard, but I didn't really hear.
Okay. So if you go back and listen to the recording, I would encourage you to do that. But here's the thing. Who's your avatar? Who are you sending that message to? What's their demographic, psychographic? Who are they? Are they your age? Do they look like you, sound like you, talk like you, walk like you?
Well, not necessarily. I just send it to people that have followed.
Okay.
But I don't necessarily go in deep of the demographics and the age, stuff like that, which is important.
Well, so here's the great news. What you're doing is getting the perfect response. It's working perfectly. You have produced if anybody ever wanted to know, listen, y'all pay attention. If anybody wanted to know how to send a message out and be unfollowed or unfriended or have people leave you on the scene, your words, you've got the perfect example. So would you want to continue those results?
No, I would change.
No. So who gave you that script?
So I came up with it.
Okay, good. So now you have what Edison would say, experience you can't buy, but you paid for, and you know what not to do. Would you ever send that script out again?
No.
Then I would just change it. So the real simple answer is do something different. But the second thing is that, do you think anybody else is sending out random messages to people they follow?
Most certainly.
Okay. So if most are, then why would you want to compete in that world? I don't want to compete in the noise. I want to be a noise. I want to be in all of the chatter and all of the this. Listen, if I'm in the symphony, I want to be the violin that's off tune. So everybody goes, what was that? I don't want to be on tune with everybody else. You can't hear me. Why do you think they have first chair violin? Because everybody's sounding the same, but they're the one, they have to give them a title because everybody sounds the same.
Right.
So I'm going to be the one. Listen, if I play off tune in an orchestra, how long am I going to be in the orchestra? Not very long. So I don't want to be in the orchestra. I don't want to be with the crowd. I want to be Mr. Bean who comes in and plays the typewriter or does stupid stuff and everybody thinks it's the funniest thing. And I get all of the attention, even though they're all of the ones that practice. And I play the violin and I go, right? And I never say a thing. I can stand out, be goofy, be different, and people like, I got to be around him. So if you listen to my conversation with Ann, if you look at her picture that's still on here, her holding a glass of something I didn't know, standing in front of a helicopter I had no idea that was taking people to Iceland, standing on snow. I found out more about that picture and what it meant to her. And she said at the end of it, I want to do whatever you want to do. And that was in about 5 minutes of conversation. If we just spent more time understanding the soul we're about to have a conversation with, rather than give them a reason to hate our business, man, life would be different. Life would be so different. Tell me how old you are.
20.
Do you think there's other people who are 20 who are kind of struggling where you are?
Mm-hmm.
So what if you put out a post, I'm 20 and I found a group who have decided to mentor me to make my 21st year one of the wealthiest I've ever had. Isn't that what your goal is to be wealthier when you're 21 than you are 20?
Certainly.
So then didn't what I just say, isn't that the truth? You found a group of people who are going to help you have your highest income ever in your 21st year?
Yes.
You think 20-year-olds might go, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Do you think you have the chance to now sift and sort? You may have people reaching out to you versus you sending that lovely message that you were sending to them before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People will reach out more.
So are you in the, let me educate you on how crazy I am, or let me find out if you're have a desire enough to do what I want to do? Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change.
Right. But certainly it's good to get to know the prospect and not just send a pitch, right? Because essentially that's bad. Like, you're not gonna, like, know more about the person like that. And with edification, it's gonna be harder, right?
Well, imagine walking into a bar, seeing a pretty girl, and go, "Hey, listen, I got a room. You want to go to bed?" That's what you're doing with that pitch. Listen, I can take you on a trip, and we can go have sex right now. You want to go? You'd never do that in the real world. Why are you doing it now?
Right.
What'd you learn? What'd you like? One thing you learned, one thing you liked.
Well, one thing I learned from this conversation was just to stand out and be different from others, and to really think about like what is your purpose, right? To really get in the prospect,
Yep.
And essentially it's, for me, like, why I'm in Trade House is really to impact people's lives and to create generational wealth for other people, and essentially for me, right? Because I want the best for my kids,
Right. So here's the thing. In order to create generational wealth, what generation has to have the wealth?
My generation.
Right. So let's work on that one first, and then we can talk. Once you have yours in place, then you can say generational wealth. Because until you have it, I'm looking going, well, shit, this guy can't rub two nickels together. How's he going to take care of his kids? All at a subconscious level. Remember, you guys are you think you're dealing with the conscious level. This is a math problem. This is a math problem. You got 70,000 thoughts a day, and you think that message is going to overcome 70,000 thoughts a day, which have become highly charged and highly emotional because of the COVID-19. And you think they're going to read that message and you go, "Oh, thank God Brandon sent me a note." And you're laughing at it because you're like, well, this has been stupid. I just made a fool of myself. No, you didn't. You had courage to say, I want to give more service to people. And I applaud you for reaching out and having the courage to stand up. Remember, I said question number 2, I could make you a little uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah. So did I give you question number 3? Did I take you out of that uncomfortable feeling?
Yes, you did, Sean.
Awesome. See, I keep my promises.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, Sean. I will certainly hop on more calls because this one was really struck out to me, and I learned a lot.
So pay attention to what just happened. Listen carefully, everybody. This isn't about me, but I've talked enough about me. Why don't y'all talk about me? I'm kidding. But Brandon just said, I'm going to jump on more calls. Did I ask him to jump on more calls? Did I beg him to jump on more calls? Did I send him a dumbass text that says, hey, listen, I've got a call you should be on. You should join my call in the morning for 2 hours and listen to me, and I'll answer your questions. I didn't send any of that. I performed. And when you start performing for people and you present your resume called what you're going to do and teach leadership, people go, well, hell, he's doing it right now. Why don't I be a part of that? You see what just happened? When you go show up, if you're going to teach leadership, if you're going to talk mentorship, go talk that. So when they look at listen, all this is a morning resume. I am giving you my resume each and every morning. Am I good enough at what I talk about, the BS that I talk about? Do I perform, and can I show you how to do it? Or am I just going to give you theory and fact and, hey, you go do it? I ain't doing it. I do it every morning on these calls. That's why you come back, because it's like somebody's going to ask a question. I'm going to learn something. And this is real life. You talk about real life prospecting, cold prospecting. You know why most people won't get on a call and prospect? Because they don't have no idea if they can have a conversation with the prospect. They can't handle that if somebody says no. They're like, oh, shit, I'm supposed to be this guru, and I'm telling everybody to go do this stuff, send out these messages. You ask one of your mentors, do you send out messages like this? Oh, man, all you got to do is send messages, DM everybody, follow everybody. Really? How's that working for you?
you can't necessarily do that. Just send messages,
You can. It'll produce a result. I've done it before back in the beginning, and it didn't produce what I wanted. It'd be like going out and slamming my hand in the car door. That'd be dumb.
Right.
Thanks for having the courage to stand up, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate it. God bless.
God bless you too. Love you, man. Thanks. Dekaya! Listen to this voice. Listen to this angelic voice that shows up.
Good morning, guys.
See, I told you. Look at that.
Oh man. So, well, thank you for answering basically all of my questions.
Until tomorrow.
Until tomorrow. So the only question that I really had left was for you, Sean, and
Aw.
it was, what was your earliest and most influential aha moment?
It was my grandmother's funeral. I was 7 years old, and I was crying and didn't know I was crying.
Close.
And I was crying because I didn't know why I was crying. I knew her, and it was on my father's side, so her name was Nana. I didn't know on my mother's side, which were Russian, Baba and Dada, and I didn't know my dad on my dad's side. I just knew Nana, and she was hysterical. We used to eat Limburger cheese together. Now, if you've ever eaten Limburger cheese, if you've ever smelled Limburger cheese, I've bought some as an adult and swore I was going to go back to that memory. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because I love my Nana so much that we ate Limburger cheese together. She had to be nuts to eat that stuff, and so did I. She had to be nuts to feed it to me. So that was the biggest impact. So that's when I realized, why am I crying?
Right.
And the answer that came to me, the aha moment that came to me, is because I missed out on telling her I loved her one more time. And so that started this being in the moment, becoming more present in the moment at age 7.
That reminds me of, when I had hopped on the call a while back, you're like, where's your pain? And I was like, it's in my shoulders. And you're like, you're carrying a weight that wasn't meant to be mine. And that just reminded me of why I move the way that I do. So, and I don't know, that's kind of, that's a little, not say odd to me, but like, I call my grandma, which is on my dad's side, Nana too. So I don't know, that just hits close to home.
Well, there you go. Funny how things work out. We're different demographic, different psychographic, but we call somebody who has tremendous influence over the same name. Wonder if there's a name that we all could call that has a lot of influence over all of us as well, called God. Maybe Nana's the real world name for God. Maybe.
There is power in a Nana. I'll tell you that.
somebody needs to make a t-shirt. Thank you, Dekaya. Did that serve you?
Yes, it did.
One thing you learned, one thing you
Sean.
liked. One thing you learned, one thing you liked.
It's the moment that's most difficult to go back to that's so freeing.
Y'all hear that wisdom? That was 100-year-old answer from this amazing peanut of a soul.
Thank you, Sean.
I love you.
I love you too.
Yay. And I am boss lady. I am the boss lady. Let me say it correctly. Good morning.
Hi.
Hey, Mandy. How are you? Maddie.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, dear.
Hi, my Spirit family. Hope everybody's having a blessed day so far. I just wanted to touch base and kind of add to what Brandon and Valentina were talking about. And
Okay.
Brittany touched base on it too. So last night I was listening to this audio. It's called Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale. And
Excellent.
it was great. Like I really had like a few aha moments. I was like, wow, like I don't feel like I've been missing it, but I feel like you've mentioned it before, maybe in different words.
Okay.
But he says something like, you have to treat, or well, here's how he starts it. people really search for esteem. So like pretty much if you can make somebody feel good, they will give you their time, they'll give you their energy, they'll give you their money, they'll give you anything just because you can make them feel good. So he follows, you know, with that, he then says, treat everybody that you meet like they're the most special person that you've ever met. And I was like, that's great. Like, and he says not only because that's how we should be treating everybody and that's how humans should expect to be treated and treat each other, but it also, you know, it helps with business. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, if you really just take that one piece of advice and you apply it like all around your life, like I'm sure your life, your business, everything could change just because like you can make people feel good. And that's literally what everybody wants. They just want to feel good. And I was like, that's so simple. And I just wanted to share that aha moment. And then so what Brandon was talking about with the like cold prospecting, you know, just going into speaking with somebody. So I you know, with our company, with trading and stuff, like we're kind of given that script to where like, oh, you can just, you know, contact somebody on Instagram and tell them, you know, hey, you know, do you do this, or would you be interested in that? And it's like, you know, I've quickly come to learn, also because Sean, you know, told us you have to build relationships first before, you know, you go into, and then also it's like, do you want to bring just anybody into your business? These are people you're going to call business partners. Like, you know, like, don't you think somebody should kind of earn that in a way? And this should be somebody that you know, because why would you want to be business partners with a stranger? Like, you don't know, you know, how their mannerisms are and stuff like that, and, you know, how they think. Like, you would want to build that up before, you know.
You know, we talk all the time about warm market and cold market.
Right.
I only have warm market.
That's awesome.
And it's people who I haven't put into my warm market yet. Everybody that I have a conversation with becomes there is no cold market. I never have a cold conversation because I choose not to be cold. I always have a warm conversation, and they may wind up on my list to do things.
I love that.
So,
yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
I appreciate it. Listen, so a couple of things. I'm looking at your picture. You are this strong woman. You have this very unique tone in your voice. So you have the ability to influence strongly. And with your desire, when you add a little emotion to that, sometimes people may take it as you being strong and they can't hear your passion. So I would encourage you, and I could be totally wrong, but I would encourage you to set up the conversation when you start to speak to somebody, because your tone in your voice, I absolutely love. It's crystal clear. It's beautiful. But because of the sound that it gives off, it's a very strong voice. And I would encourage you to share with people, hey, listen, as we have a conversation, you may hear me get excited, but I've been told in the past, it may sound like I'm becoming threatening. Just know that it's my passion. Know that it's my desire to serve. Has that ever happened?
Oh, absolutely, all the time.
Yeah.
Like, even with my family, my sister tells me, she's like, it sounds like you're coming at me, or like you're getting angry or something. And I'm like, it's just, that's my voice. And that's, you know, if I'm passionate about something, like.
Exactly. So I just wanted to, because I heard that as you were talking, I'm like, wow, this amazing soul gets beat up because they hear the tone. That's the drill sergeant that comes out. And it's actually the choir leader saying, hit your note. Let's sing the praises of Jesus. And they hear you going, I told you, Sergeant, to sit down. And
So tell me again. What
so set up the stage. Say, hey, listen, we're going to have a conversation. And I get excited. But because of God gave me with his voice to lead thousands, it's going to sound like I'm yelling at you. I need you to know it's my desire to bring you joy. So if I start to see you lean back in the chair, I'll do my best to lower my volume, but just know I love you.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's a gem. Thank you so much.
RBP, what do you got words today?
I'm just doing a lot of listening today. This has been good. Just, that's what I was telling my husband is I enjoy getting on here and hearing y'all because it gives me such a fresh new perspective. And it's helping me. Y'all are helping me out so, God, y'all are helping me out so much because I'm starting to have a lot of people y'all's ages interested in working with me, joining with me, living life with me. And I'm getting to be in their world. And you guys are helping me so much with how to hear them and how to see them and how to love them more and not making me so awkward around them. So I really appreciate it. I've got notes. My notes are way weird compared to what we're talking about right now. Like, way weird. I'm not even going to share them because it's like everybody on here would go, "What are you kidding?"
What were you? Yeah, what were you listening to?
I'm glad you love weird, Leo, because I'm weird, and that means you love me, my little Latin king, man. Ooh, I love to see you dance. My goodness, my daughter got up and danced with you yesterday, and she was getting it, man. She got those shoulders going. Oh, I love y'all. So yeah, y'all help me go to a different place in my mind than when I definitely where I am when I wake up. And that's priceless to me because y'all made me ask one good question, which this is okay. When did the phrase "the level of vibration" start getting so popular? Like, I get it, I understand it. I've never heard it used this much. And it's totally bizarre. My husband was listening and he's like, "When did that ever?" I'm like, "I don't know when." So that was one of my questions I wrote down. But the way y'all are and the way you vibrate, and I've never heard a lot of this jargon used this, but yeah, Brittany, me either. I don't know. Y'all set the stage for the rest of my day. And I don't have any other place to get that. And y'all help me dig deeper into myself and get rid of some truths and some biases and some judgments that I have, and y'all help me to lay it down. And because of that, the people that are around me when I'm not on the call, man, they greatly benefit. So y'all change lives through changing me that y'all will never know about. And that 2 of them are right here in this house. And I know they see and hear a difference in me, and that's directly related to each one of y'all, including Sean. And there's not enough gratitude. So I'm sitting over here just in my little pink robe, all happy and sassy and enjoying life and listening to y'all and growing. And I'm not going to share the rest of my questions because y'all will not understand where in the world they came from.
That'll be for another call.
Yeah.
So, I know there's a couple of hands still up. I'm going to have to cut this short after 2.5 hours because I've got 7 CEOs that I'm about to have a conversation with that have asked me to meet with them and help them through the storytelling. So just so that you get an idea, I'm getting off this call to go meet with about $4 billion in business owners that have asked me to have a conversation with them.
Don't let us hold you back, man.
No, but what I'm saying, the reason I say that is
awesome.
That, well, Brittany, you can get mad all you want. I love you, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm going to be in service. So, and I know where it comes from. It's like, I wanted to share something. So bring these questions, start off the call tomorrow morning. Let's start off the call tomorrow morning with these questions. Because the question does not lose its value over time. So I'm going to go jump on a call with these souls who are wondering how to take their business to the next level. $4 billion worth of conversations, and they're asking me, a farm boy from Ohio. Might you bring some more questions tomorrow? Might you bring some more people tomorrow to help them take care of their day and take care of their family? Because that's all these guys are going to want to know. How do we take care of our teams? How do we take care of our families? How do we take care of the people who've put their commitment in us so that we can teach them how to have a better day today? Because I don't know about tomorrow. All I know is about today. So thank you all for making my day a little bit better. I appreciate y'all. I'm Sean Murphy, founder of Mental Profits, and I'll see y'all where? At the next event. Y'all send some love to each other.
Bye,
Thank you,
y'all.
Sean.
Love y'all. Have a great
Bye,
day.
y'all. Love y'all.
Love y'all.
I love
Emily,
you
Bye, more Sean
guys.
this way.
everyone have a blessed day.
Yes, have
Sean,
a
go
blessed
kill
day.
that
Be safe,
meeting.
y'all.
I'll do my best. I'll try not to screw it up.
You won't.
Have a great
Bye,
meeting,
Chris.
Sean.
All
You
right. Love you
mastered it
guys.
already.
All right,
Love
love
you.
Love you too.
Later.
Thank you, Sean.
Bye for now.
All righty.
Bye.